Blah, 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 black tea. If you've heard episodes 1 through 4, you're practically an expert in tea production by now. And today on episode 5, we're going to discuss black tea, known in China as red tea. It's quite similar to oolong tea production with arguably fewer steps, and the oxidation is taken way too far, and usually using different leaf material, different pickings. Black tea has come a long way since its inception, which was pretty much a result of the English trying rather unsuccessfully to produce a green tea in India. And it does still seem to be moving forward. A black tea, simply put, is a tea that has undergone full oxidation and changed from a fresh green leaf to a withered up black leaf. The producer's picking criteria for high quality is similar to what would make a fine white, yellow, or green tea. Younger leaves. They have less potential bitterness, astringency, and flavor that can turn sour during the oxidation process, and they will make superior grades of black teas. Once the leaves are picked, they will go through a withering phase, which reduces the water content in the leaves. They soften up so that they can be rolled without breaking. Some black teas go through more of this than others, and only in some cases does the end result actually need to be of a quality that is unbroken, because most of the time black tea is destined for tea bags, and the quality is mediocre, and the presentation of those leaves are totally not necessary. Rolling of those leaves damages the cell walls and allows the chemicals within them to freely mix and create new compounds. It also encourages a speedy oxidation process. There is not a high skill ceiling in the process like there is in oolong tea production. We covered it last episode, but with oolong tea, the producer needs to stop when he feels the tea arrives at a certain fragrance or color. We compared it kind of like cooking a steak and going for something like medium rare. To continue that analogy, black tea is always well done. Once the oxidation is complete, as in it can go no further, it's maximum, the teas will be fired and dried out and sold. So since the process is so basic, the quality of black tea is determined by what is picked. As with white tea, there are black teas made of only the buds, generally referred to as golden buds or golden needles. This golden moniker shows up often in Chinese black tea, and then in the Western world we usually call it orange. So this is because of the trichomes, or the pekoe, the little white fur which covers the young buds and leaves. It's white on the living tea, and it will remain white in the finished tea if those trichomes don't get hit by juice and oxidize. This pekoe oxidizes to become this kind of orange color, and so we call it orange pekoe. It is the quintessential part of what makes a high quality tea, especially when it comes from China and India. It seems that Japan and Taiwan are exceptions to this rule. I haven't really seen many black teas from either of those countries that have a lot of pekoe on them, but that could be just because the cultivar that they're using in those countries is just not as furry. In China, you're going to have teas like golden snails, golden pearls, golden eyebrows, golden monkey, golden needles, etc. And these are some of the best black teas that are coming out of China. And generally, they're made in the south, in the provinces of Fujian and Yunnan. The golden teas of India are generally coming from Assam, and it seems that northern Vietnam is making some pretty great golden teas as well. Black teas, which are made of the same sort of mudan picking, which we talked about for white teas, so you're using like the bud and 2 leaves, or maybe 1 leaf. These are still of really high quality, and they make up the bulk of black tea on the market, coming from places like Anhui, China for Keemun tea, Yunnan's Dianhong, the orthodox teas of, say, Sri Lanka, again of Assam. Orthodox meaning that the processing is done by hand instead of giant machines, because you're often going to hear a term in black tea or an acronym CTC. This is a machine which makes the processing of black tea extremely efficient by how it kind of processes the leaf mechanically. It stands for cut, tear, curl, and it helps to promote oxidation of the leaf in an even manner. You can know if a tea is made by this CTC machine or not by how the finished tea looks. It looks almost like fish food pellets. They're not necessarily bad teas. They're super homogeneous, that's for sure. And I've had a couple very interesting pots of CTC teas from Assam, but I wouldn't say they're my thing. The more mature leaf that's used in black tea production is known as like a souchong, like Lapsang souchong, the famous black tea that's coming from Fujian. Not always smoked, but anyway, souchong is about the size of the leaf, okay? The more mature leaf will have the most flavor, potentially both positive and negative though. Most of the tea bags, what they have contained is essentially, again, comparing to white tea, like a Chaumet grade, where there might be some orange Picot trichomes in there, but the likelihood isn't that good. Because when you pick leaves later on in the year, you have more of them. You can make more tea. And for the most part, tea production isn't really about the quality, it's about the quantity, because people don't want to spend lots of money. If you're one to take tea with milk and sugar, because tea sucks, and you need to cover its taste. I think the issue is that you're drinking the wrong tea. When I was first introduced to tea and coffee in my life, that is with things like red rose, tea bags, and like really dark roast coffee. In Canada, that's what we had. And times are changing, but both of those beverages are very bold in their flavor and they're very bitter as well. You can hide the bitterness behind the fat of milk. Actually, more the astringency behind the fat of milk, and the bitterness hides behind sweetness. So that'll come from sugar. So usually, like in Canada, we have our double doubles. Anyway, if you never had a black tea with an actual fair amount of orange Picot or golden color to the leaves, do yourself a favor and live a little. When you try things like that, the whole world of tea changes. And if you'd like to read about what I consider the best black tea which exists, perhaps its little cousin, I will leave some links in the description below. Next week will be the final episode of this series, in which we'll talk about, pretty much white tea again, but one that has some specific steps which warrant a new category. It's not yellow tea again, it's about pu'er. So we'll see you then.